Yo, what's up, guys? It's Talon, and today I had an 11-game loss streak. Not just from today, part of it was today, part of it was yesterday, but overall it was an 11-game loss streak. And I'm going to talk about sort of the topic of matchmaking and the loss streak and kind of what leads to loss streaks and just a lot of kind of topics that people have revolving around this whole thing. A lot of this was kind of sparked because during my stream I sort of had a number of different kind of conversations, people saying, wow, your matchmaking must really suck, or you're getting really bad luck, or other things, just kind of a lot of different stuff, and it kind of led to me wanting to talk about this. So it's currently 1 a.m. I'm almost never awake at 1 a.m., but it's super hot in my room and I can't sleep, and so I'm deciding randomly to make this video. So my thoughts might not be the most coherent, but basically I want to start off just talking about matchmaking. So a lot of people, as you know, say matchmaking is quite bad. There's problems with matchmaking, such as the fact that you get matched, the higher you are or the better you are, higher your win rate is, better your stats are, whatever, the worse your teammates are, to balance out the games, to try to get people to a 50% win rate. That's what people say. That's kind of how it works. People are pretty aware of that, so I'm not going to go super into depth about that. But it's true that matchmaking is not really ideal. That said, everyone kind of knows my opinion is that you can climb regardless if you're good enough. I've talked about this many times, so I'm not going to go super into depth about that either. But people know, in my opinion, and I think it's pretty obvious, if you're good enough, you're going to climb anyways. Now, what this system really can do is lead to a lot of like loss streaks or potential, bad games. Some people say there's a loser's queue where if you lose or if you win too many games in a row, funnily enough, I had a 6-game win streak right before my 11-game loss streak, that then you will start losing a bunch in a row. That's what people say. That matchmaking is trying to, balance it out. It's going to give you worse teammates. And while this is partially true, obviously I don't know everything about the matchmaking. It doesn't really matter whether or not it's true, because you can't control the, matchmaking. You can't control if there is a loser's queue. All you can control is that you play well consistently in your games. And this is kind of something I talked about a lot while I was on this loss streak when I was losing, because I think one of the losses was especially unfortunate, where I was like hard carrying and then we lost anyways. It was like a 9th loss or something, and I was just like, even though it was a really frustrating loss and whatever, trying to play consistently well, trying to do what I know is the right play, regardless of the fact that, I've lost a lot of games, I'm very frustrated, that type of thing. So it's pretty important to kind of focus on that when you're on a loss streak. But the thing I'm kind of trying to talk about more here is what actually leads to a loss streak. And so matchmaking, as we talked about, suboptimal, this definitely leads to part of it. The fact that, the higher your win rate is, the better you're doing, the more that it's going to try to balance you with worse teammates. And so in this sense, loser's queue is sort of real, but again, doesn't really matter to think about because it doesn't actually help you in terms of climbing or improving. But other things lead to an 11-game loss streak as well. It's not just going to be matchmaking leading to it all. You're not going to... Matchmaking is never the reason you lost 11 games in a row. Like, it's not just the matchmaking system. That's just fucking stupid. Like, frankly, if you actually think that, you're an idiot. The reality is there's many other factors that lead to it. So one factor can be your own mental / gameplay / whatever, obviously, the thing you can actually control. So, for example, on this loss streak, very hot in my room compared to normal. Not saying this is the excuse as to why I lost a bunch of games. A factor that leads to it. Very hot, my hands are sweating, my hands are randomly slipping, kind of annoying, something I'm not used to because I recently came home from college, so then I don't really have air conditioning right now, and it's kind of hot. That also might make me hotter, might make me more annoyed when some things go wrong. These are one of the factors. There can be whatever external life circumstance that leads to you losing because of or playing worse because of these things. It doesn't mean I'm playing super bad. I mean, in most of these games I'm still playing pretty well, but it might mean I play marginally worse, which leads to me not carrying 1 or 2 of those games I would have otherwise carried, and then I wouldn't have been on an 11-game loss streak. I would have been on, like, say a 5-game loss streak, win 1 and then lose 5 more, whatever, lose 4, whatever. Like, it would be different, and so you would win a couple more, and that's going to be one factor. Another factor is your teammates decide they want to lose for whatever reason. For example, matchmaking can't predict when someone decides to run it down for no reason. Obviously, it can tell, maybe if a player runs it down frequently or gets reported a lot, but they can't actually tell, oh, this player is going to run it down in this game. For example, the Heimerdinger I'm currently playing against in this game, he played against me in 1 game. When he played against me, he played his 1 trick of Heimerdinger, played really well. I think we lost the game because I was on an 11-game loss streak. Then he was on my team. I was mid lane, he was jungle. He locked in Draven jungle, ran it down, and went like 1 in 10. And this was the game I was talking about where I played really well or whatever. And then this game now that we're watching here, he's playing his 1 trick of Heimerdinger again. And so basically, like, again, he's playing the champ he's actually good at. And so sometimes matchmaking can't predict that he's going to lock in Draven jungle and run it down when he has a normal win rate and he's a fine player, whatever. but he did in that game for whatever reason. I don't even really know the reason, to be honest with you, but he did, and that led to a loss. And so now that adds to another loss, and people say, oh, that's matchmaking's fault. Matchmaking can't control that. Nothing to do with matchmaking in that specific game. We should have won. Instead, our Draven decided to run it down for no reason. Obviously can't predict that. And then there's also just natural variance. Like, the chance of rolling heads, 3 times in a row is an eighth, right? 1/2 cubes. And it just goes on like that, right? Where it's like, it goes from an eighth to a 16th, losing 4 games in a row. That's basically what I'm saying, is like, assume you had a chance of losing, you had a 50-50 chance of winning and losing every game. That means that, again, like I said, the chance of losing 3 games in a row is about an eighth with a 50% chance, then a 16th, 32nd, etc., etc. And so the chance of losing, 11 games in a row would be whatever, like a 5/12 or 10/24, whatever it is, it's very low. However, if you played as many games as I have in Wild Rift, which is like probably 10 or 15,000, then over the course of that time, eventually you're going to get that 1 in, 10/24 chance or whatever the math is, right? You're going to have a very long loss streak, basically, is the point. And this is just natural variance. Even if matchmaking was completely perfect, had balanced games, everything was fair, your performance mattered, all of that would still lead to the potential of a loss streak eventually. And that's what people don't understand. So that's kind of the gist of it. Matchmaking can potentially cause part of a loss streak. However, there's a lot more to it. A lot of variance from natural, real life factors to unlucky, teammates to another thing that I didn't kind of mention. A lot of these games we were winning, and then we had a random flip go wrong. Like, my teammate randomly died right before Elder, or I made a dumb play where I threw the game when I was super fed and I just randomly died right before an important objective, or, a teammate got caught. Like, I have a really good player on my team. His name's Pablo. He's a very good player. He was playing very well in my game, and then he randomly died at a very important time, and we lost the game. Then I have him on the enemy team, and he completely shits on my team, plays super well, and wins the game. He played super well in both the games, did amazing, made one dumb mistake, and we end up losing the game off it. Obviously, there's more things that lead to it, right? There's not just his one mistake that loses at the game, but it's a large factor. And like, these random little things going wrong is kind of the point of this video, is that just because you have a loss streak, I think most people that watch my channel probably view me as good. That's probably why you watch, is to try to get better. And even I have these really crazy loss streaks. There's a number of different things. I've been spamming the game a lot more as well because I'm home for summer break. And so naturally, I'm going to lose more games as well, because I'm going to be playing a lot more, and usually playing a lot more, you're not going to play as well if you're playing for 8 hours a day instead of 4 hours a day, like I, kind of switched to. So that also leads to me playing worse. And like, for me, I can justify it because I make money streaming, so streaming more makes me more money. So even if I lose some more games, I don't care. But if it's like, for the general person, playing less sometimes is more in terms of climbing or winning. So there's basically just a lot of different factors that lead to this. And that's kind of one thing I wanted to talk about. And then the other thing I want to talk about with this video, and again, I know it's not a super organized video, is kind of the concept of like how you're actually going to then improve from these situations. Because I don't actually think it's bad to blame matchmaking sometimes. I don't think it's bad to sometimes blame your teammates. I don't think it's bad to get mad at the game. It's a video game. If you want to get mad at your teammate, like, get mad at them, as long as you're, if it's just like in the game, don't insult them personally. But if you're just saying like, oh, this guy sucks at the game, he's dog shit, I don't care. Like, it's a video game. It doesn't really matter. But what's important is how you kind of approach it later when you're actually thinking back on what you could have done differently. So for example, I had a game with this trio, and during the game, I was pretty tilted because, like I said, I've been losing a lot of games lately. I blame them a lot. They came into my stream, and one of them got really mad at me for blaming him, whatever, and I argued with him, told him why I thought he was wrong. I still think he was wrong. Doesn't matter. However, in that game, I made multiple dumb mistakes as well that I could have done much better, and had I had not done those things, then the situations we were in might have just been situations we never even experienced, because we might have just been strong enough to win anyways. And so I can think about that and like realize that after the fact, so that I can still improve from the fact that I made these dumb mistakes. Like, I approached the lane phase wrong. There were certain parts into the Ari matchup where I didn't respect her level 1, or where I like made certain dumb mistakes, or my wave management was poor in the game, and I could have done these different things and it would lead to different circumstances, while simultaneously still getting mad at my teammate during the game. Because again, like, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with sometimes blaming your teammates or getting mad at them, or even getting mad at matchmaking or whatever. The problem is when you start blaming matchmaking or teammates or these other factors for why you're low like rank, or your whatever rank you are. I think that there were a lot of games on this loss streak that were pretty much completely my teammates' fault. I think there were definitely some games I could have won if I played better, but a lot of them, you know, just naturally sometimes you get bad luck, your teammates play bad. But regardless of that, I can get mad at that in the moment, but once I, like, you know, reflect on the loss streak now that it's been like a day, whatever, I now need to just be like, okay, it doesn't matter about everything that went wrong with my teammates. Now I need to think about what I need to change. And also, by the way, I've now won, I think, like probably 6 or 7 of my last like 8 or 9 games, something like that, since I'm now talking about this loss streak. So I've won some games. I'm back on, like, you know, I'm back to Grandmaster or whatever after we tilted out a little bit to like 28 marks. But when I'm like reflecting back on, again, the loss streak and some of the bad games, there's a couple different things I need to kind of do in order to be more focused and win more of these games. So the first thing is, during the game, I need to focus less on my teammates. Like during this loss streak, I let myself get more angry at my teammates than normal, where I would blame them, point out their mistakes more often than I should, even though they're making a lot of mistakes. There's still no reason to focus on them so hard, because then it makes me less focused and I'm not focused as much on my game. Additionally, in certain situations, I would be reading chat like immediately in the game as I go into the game, and then that leads to me kind of having a lack of focus without a plan. So like usually before I start reading a lot of my chat in my games, I would rather make some type of plan as to how I think the lane is going. For the last couple days, I haven't really planned anything. I've kind of just gone into the game just to play, right? And so that's been an important thing as well. I'm not actually, so like a lot of times level 1, I might get caught off guard if I didn't think about how I want the lane to go. I'm playing like a bit autopilot-y, that type of thing, kind of leading to some extra losses, which is kind of another important thing. And just overall, like, more focus on the gameplay rather than teammates or other things like that, because it's not really useful, doesn't really help much. And even if generally, I mean, you guys watch my channel, you know I'm like pretty good in terms of being focused on what I should improve on. I'll blame my teammates still, but I'll also definitely try to, you know, get better and focus on my own stuff. But in the last couple of days, kind of lacked that as much. I didn't, you know, quite do that as much. I made more dumb mistakes because of that. So basically, you know, that's kind of my rambling video. I think it's important that sometimes you guys just reflect on the reasons that you lost games, and it's good to do it after the fact rather than doing it right in the moment, because it's natural to get mad. It's okay really to blame your teammates or get mad. Like, again, it's a video game, not the end of the world. But if you're really thinking about, like, in the long run, how to get better at the game, you have to at least be realistic with yourself at some point. It doesn't have to be during the game, but it has to be later, and then you reflect and you figure out what you could do different. Again, for me, I could maybe spam the game less. In my case, again, I make more money streaming if I play the game more, so I mean, I do spam the game a decent amount, and that's one thing I'm kind of okay with losing a bit more games on. But I need to make sure that I'm trying to focus a bit more on my team when I can. Maybe taking even just a 5-minute break, that type of thing. Trying to make better plans. Again, kind of went away from planning for a little bit. Just generally having like a bit better mental than I did during those loss streaks. As long as you're kind of just acknowledging these things to yourself, I think it's important, you know, it kind of helps you improve. So I just wanted to make this video kind of a pretty random topic, but I do think it's valuable because I think a lot of people kind of sometimes have these issues or have these loss streaks and kind of don't know what to do with them. So if you guys watch this video all the way, I appreciate it. I do coaching for $25 an hour now, as a, you know, 4-time top 10 in the server sovereign player. I think I can provide you guys with value. I've done it 3 times being autofill to top 10 on the server. So I'm generally like pretty good on most roles. Can kind of help you guys out with that. Can help maybe if mental's your problem too. Like I said, I think I've done a pretty good job. My mental used to be really bad, and now I feel like I probably have better mental than the average ranked player. Usually pretty good in that regard as well. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.